Hey there, comic book friends. I'm Travis, and this is another edition of What the Fugue, where I talk about what's kind of going on with me this week in comics. First thing I want to talk about is there starting to be rumblings and more information out there on a new Brian Wood title that I heard about probably almost a year ago. But now it's finally getting to be solid, and it looks like we're going to actually see it happen. It's going to come out in December. It is called Mariah. Part of the premise behind the creation of this miniseries is that at the time he was planning it with artist Ming Doyle. Of course, there was a lot of conversation about how there was not very many female-centric books out there. This was right about the time the DC, New 52 was kicking up and whatnot, and all that kind of stuff. Anyway, Mariah is the name of the book. The premise behind it is this is a future society where sports are highly commendable and recognized. Lots of times it is the answer to war. Instead of war, they have sport to decide some things that are going on. It kind of sounds like the main character, Mariah, she is a elite volleyball player, and she is like a national darling. Everybody loves her. She's fabulous. She's this important person. And then she discovers one day that she has superpowers. And it gets exposed that she has superpowers. And so it brings into question what is her real value if she's cheating, potentially, if she has these superpowers and whatnot. I'm looking forward to it. I think it's going to be interesting. I'll talk more about it as more information comes out on it, I'm sure. I know I'll be picking it up, at least to start out with, because I try everything of Brian Wood's stuff. But yeah, I'm excited to see more of that coming out. I'm looking forward to reading some more good books with female protagonists in them. So looking forward to that as far as new comics coming out. Don't have a lot of else to talk about as far as new future comics that are coming out. I haven't seen anything really new out of the Marvel Now stuff that seems intriguing. DC hasn't really thrown out any new stuff as of late that I would have an interest in. I have to tell you, I'm halfway through reading September's issues of the DC 52 Zero issues, and I am so sick of Zero issues. There are a couple of good ones out there that I've read so far. I'm hearing there might be a couple more good ones coming, but as a whole, man, this was a waste. If I didn't pre-order my comics in advance, 2 or 3 months in advance, I could have easily skipped this entire Zero issue thing and just gotten issue 13 when issue 13 came out, and it would look like I had a collection, and it would read like I had a collection, and these things wouldn't matter. So far, not really impressed. I'm sure after I get my next 2 weeks worth of comics and I read those, I'll have more opinion on the whole Zero issue and Zero issues and how do I think that worked and whatnot. I'm deciding I don't really care for Zero issues in general. What's the point? Call it issue 1. Give us the story in issue 1 if you want to, but don't give us this isn't really starting yet Zero issue thing. Makes no sense. Kind of curious about Batwoman though, because Batwoman will have 2 Zero issues coming out. The one that just came out of the New 52 and the story they wrote before the New 52, there was a Zero issue that kind of had to do with, Batman. Batman had come back from the whole Rest in Peace thing, and he was kind of observing what was going on in Gotham now that he was gone. So there's an issue of him kind of observing Batwoman. Excellent issue. It's half drawn by J.H. Williams and half drawn by Amy Reeder and written by J.H. Williams and Blackman. And it is a great book. I mean, it looks really cool. Top half, Amy Reeder, bottom half. the art looks awesome all the way through it. So I don't know what happened with the creative difference thing that happened later on with a reader and whatnot. But anyway, so that's kind of funny. There's two 0 issues of Batwoman. Anyway, I've been appreciating everybody's shout outs. I've noticed that there's been quite a few places where I get Oddfellow's thoughts, the channel, and me and Ethan get talked about, and we really appreciate that. I think that's pretty awesome. As I've mentioned before, I'm really awful at doing shout outs. I kind of draw blanks on people's names when I sit here to do these things for me to point out people and whatnot. There is a Spanish-speaking subscriber who subscribes to me. I subscribe to him, and I just know I'd butcher his name if I tried to say it. Estrasano. It's ESTRASNOY. I'll hopefully not be lazy, and I'll put a link down below. I really like his videos. I get the impression he has a lot to say about what he's talking about. He shows us the covers, or he just has a conversation like I'm doing now. I watch his videos all the way through. Now, do I speak Spanish? No. Un poco. Very little. And it's been a lot of years since I've had to stretch my Spanish brain. So I've been enjoying watching his videos because it's about comics, which is always good, right? We all like about comics. And because it's in a foreign language that I kind of know, it stretches my brain to try and figure out exactly what he's talking about and whatnot. So I've been enjoying that. Like I said, I think he's got a lot to say. If you speak Spanish, check the link out if I've got the link down there below, and check him out. I think he's probably got some good stuff to say. What little bit I can glean, he's got good stuff to say, interesting stuff to say about comics and stuff, and so that's cool. I use the little translator thing that's down below. I mean, it's still in Spanish, but if I can read along while it's being spoken, I do a little bit better at reading than I do at just listening. So that's great. Speaking of that little translator thing, have you ever watched that after you do a video? If you're narcissistic like me and you watch your own videos back to make sure that you haven't said anything too crazy or whatever, or made too strange of a face. But reading that translation thing is absolutely hilarious because I must not enunciate very well or something. But the translation is always just absolutely bonkers. It makes absolutely no sense. Anyways, I find that funny. Like I said, there's been lots of great videos out here lately. I continue, if you have any interest at all in the Batman, I will continue to point you to Minutia Minute and his retelling of his going over the modern age Batman books, because he has them all, going over that. It's been great. There's bits and pieces of that I wasn't reading comic books at the time, so it's great to see those Batman stuff, get an idea what those stories are like, to look for possible arcs that I might want to pick up, when I do have the time and the money to buy back issues of Batman, what might interest me, because a lot of the modern age type books are more affordable as far as just collecting, as opposed to going back and buying Silver Age or Golden Age Batman books or that sort of thing. So I'm interested in that. I don't always, of course, 100% agree with the opinion and whatnot. I know it seems like there are quite a few people on there who didn't really like Grant Morrison's run on a lot of that Batman stuff, and quite honestly, actually, I liked a lot of it. I like how these crazy ideas that get thrown out there, and then they may get picked back up somewhere. I don't mind that. Would I want to read a bunch of books that are like that? No, not at all. But I really enjoyed that with Batman, because it felt like something different was going on with Batman, and I love the Batman character. I collect lots of Batman stuff, but there's lots of times where it feels like they're just telling us the same stuff over again and over again. So I felt like Grant was telling us something different. And there, for that brief period of time, like when J.H. Williams was doing the artwork on the Batman stuff too, man, that was awesome too. The only thing I can say about that, and the reason I actually wasn't picking up the Batman title at the time. I was getting Detective, but I wasn't getting the Batman title at the time. But I was also collecting a Wildstorm series called Desolation Jones, written by Warren Ellis, and the art was by J.H. Williams III. Loved that book. Loved that book a lot. And J.H. Williams ended up going off of that book because they offered him, to do the art for Grant Morrison on the Batman book, and he worked on that for a while, and I guess they're paying him more. It was a better gig, or I don't know exactly what, but that's why he went off of that and onto that, which is kind of a shame for me. But I decided, man, I like J.H. Williams' artwork so well, and Desolation Jones, I was going to follow him wherever he was going, and that's where he was at. So that's why I started picking that up and whatnot. Minutia Minute, that whole Batman thing, today is the 27th as I'm recording this, so there's can't be very many more little bits and pieces left, but it's a pretty awesome run of videos, man. And it's going to be cool to be able to go back and look at that stuff anytime. Love the fact that it's going to be there and kind of be preserved. So I start wondering about, the Batman thing. That's going to be one of my first resources to go to for research on that stuff, as opposed to having to dig through my stuff or having to dig through Wikipedia or whatever to try and figure out where stuff's at. So that's pretty awesome. Pretty awesome indeed. Let's see. I should have a no capes video coming up here pretty quick. I'll record it today or tomorrow, something like that. And of course, the end of the week, me and Ethan will have our Monster Comic reviews that we'll do. I don't have any books to show anybody. I haven't gotten any back issues in quite some time, of course, because I don't have a comic book shop per se, and I haven't really done a lot of perusing online. I just bought a new review mobile, as Ethan's not here to cringe, but he always cringes when I say that because he always thinks that's a stupid name, which it is, but I like calling it that way. Anyway, bought a new review mobile, and so that has kind of currently curbed my rampant back issue buying and whatnot. So gotta be a little more frugal about what I buy. What do I really want, as opposed to just look like, oh, that looks like a fun pile of comics, let's buy those. So don't have that in the show. One other thing I did want to talk about, and now we're on to the kind of ranty part of the blog. There's been some discussion about the prices of comics, and should there be a boycott of comics for a month just to show the companies were not happy with the prices of the comics and whatnot. Now, I grumble about prices. I grumble about that $4.99 or that $3.99 comic book, which, like so many of the Marvel books, tend to be, and I grumble about the double shipping. The double shipping I grumble about twice as much, because it feels to me like I don't think there's anybody out there who's that prolific to make a successful book, that they're writing that many scripts and they're doing that much art twice a month to get that done. There just isn't a Jack Kirby out there anymore. How that guy did it, I have no idea. No clue whatsoever. I mean, that guy was producing like 15 pages a day. Whatever. I don't understand how that worked, how he did it. But anyway, and there's this conversation about, oh, look, the price of a comic book back in the day, back in the 80s versus now. If you priced it up, Sleepy Reader was commenting on the fact that if you price it up, a comic book now, the value it should be, I don't know what it was $1.15 or something like that. I can't remember exactly what the price was and whatnot. The quality of book, production-wise, is so much better now than then. I mean, I enjoy reading the old comics I pick up. I enjoy reading my old comics. But I also, as I'm reading those, I think about, wow, what would this be like if it was made with quality product alone? Just quality product. And everybody squawks about how cheap everything is. Yeah, paper is cheaper, but there's a process to make that paper, and that's not that cheap. Not really. I mean, it is, but it isn't. So I'd much rather have a higher quality book. I'd rather pay that price and have that higher quality book than have pages that are going to dissolve faster, stuff that feels like newsprint, stuff that collects dust a lot worse, stuff that just isn't as bright. Everything's dull, except for maybe the cover. So the production level is a much better book now, and I don't want to go back personally to cheaper paper. I don't think it will radically reduce the price of the book that much. Because here's the other side to that is everybody thinks we should have these much, much cheaper books. Now, I don't think they should get more expensive than what they are. I mean, like I said, I don't want to spend any more money on the books than I want to either. But for me, there's this flip side that nobody talks about. What about our creators actually truly getting paid for the work they're doing? Back in the day, these comic books we're talking about back in the day, we hear stories about how they didn't get paid well, they got screwed out of this, or they don't get this, or they don't get that, and whatnot. Well, part of the reason why is the books were so cheap, right? I mean, that's part of it. Like I said, I'm sure the big companies are getting their share, more than their share, of whatever product is being produced. But I would like to think that the creators that I read are at least getting paid a livable wage for what they do. And that's important to me. It's important to me that a creator can make some level of a comfortable living off of what they're doing, or they're going to quit doing it. I mean, you can only do something for the love of doing it for so long before you realize, before you might want a family, you might want a decent roof over your head, and all these things. And to make the choices to do those things, to have those things, you have to get paid a livable wage. Otherwise, you go find something else to do. You go work for movies instead of comic books. You give up comic books altogether and become a commercial artist or whatever. The passion drives a lot of people, but there's a point of what great works could they do if they weren't so busy trying to make a living. Everybody points out the Marvel and DC books. Well, most of the other books out there are just as expensive as far as like Dark Horse books are $350, I think seems to be the standard price for them, I think. Image comics are anywhere between $2.99 and $3.99, if I remember correctly. Those aren't the big two companies, lining their pockets with massive amounts of money, is it? I mean, those are all creator-owned products as a general rule, so the creator's getting more of that. And finally, books are paying enough that they can make a living doing that. They can make a living doing creator-owned stuff instead of being slaves to the machine. We all kind of talk about how we love our DC, we love our Marvel characters, but boy, wouldn't it be nice if creators could create their own stuff, own their own things, and be happy having their own product. Well, how can they do that? How can they do that if they're not making enough money? So if we shrink all the books prices back to what we think is reasonable with the increase of prices, how are they going to do that? How are they making the money? Like I said, I'm not saying that we should be just paying $7, $8, $9 for a comic book or anything like that. I mean, I grumble every time the price goes up and stuff, but I also stop and think about the fact, what am I getting? I'm getting a piece of art. I'm getting art. Yeah, granted, it's copied. Everybody else gets a piece of art, but I am getting a piece of art. I'm getting lots of enjoyment out of that piece of art. I've seen some videos where people are comparing comic books to magazines. How there's this big, thick magazine. It's got 3 times the amount of pages in it. And you can get a subscription, and it's like 99 cents. Ends up being 99 cents a magazine, or the cover price is $7 or $8 or whatever. But you know what? I don't believe it takes nearly anything to produce that magazine in comparison to producing a comic book, and the art and craftsmanship that goes into a comic, the ideas, the knowledge, the creativity that goes into that versus what goes into a magazine. authors of magazines for most of those types of articles are people who are on staff that get paid crappy wages, or they're interns that are putting it all together, and that sort of stuff. There's a few people in there who might get paid something, and chances are a lot of that they aren't actually getting paid because, like, if it's a magazine that has like a star in it that's going to be in an upcoming movie, they do those photo shoots for free. They aren't getting paid for those photo shoots because those photo shoots are ads for whatever product they've got coming out, whatever movie, whatever's going on, whatever album or whatever type of thing is going on. So I don't think it costs nearly as much to produce that magazine as it does for a comic book, because you're not paying for creativity. You're not paying for a lot of the stuff that goes into a comic. So I guess what I want to say about the whole thing, and like I said, I'm all for comics not getting outrageously expensive, but I also know there's no way in hell that I'm just not going to buy comics for a month. I don't agree with that. To me, that's going to hurt too many people that have got nothing to do with the machine being the way the machine is. Now, boycotting a certain level makes sense. That way, at least we can draw a line and say, at this point, I'm not paying for anything that's past this line, whatever that line is for you, whether it be the $3.99 books, or in my case, the double shipping. I'm just not going to get books that double ship as a whole. Occasionally fudge on that, but if I'm really curious about something. But otherwise, I don't like the double ship for a lot of reasons. Money's a big reason for that, so I don't plan on doing that. We all draw our lines to try and convince them that, enough's enough or whatever. But obviously, like anything else, as things go up, I'm assuming everybody who has a job out there, at some point your job gives you some sort of a raise, hopefully. Hopefully you've got a job that is a livable wage also. So you can collect your comics and do your thing and whatnot. And of course, as everything goes up, things do eventually go up. I've collected through some of the most radical price changes that there are. I mean, I really solidly was collecting comics when they were 35 cents, and then they radically went up pretty quickly from that. And it seemed like they were 65 cents, and then 75 cents, and then suddenly from 75 cents, it seemed like there was this jump to $1.25. I don't think that was suddenly because everybody thought, hey, damn, we can suddenly get a lot of money out of these, out of these geeks that are buying all of these comic books. Something changed there. Part of it was the quality of the product they were giving us, as far as paper and inks and colors and durability and all that sort of stuff went along with the whatnot too. But I also think that we started getting exclusives, and so when they offer that exclusive to these creators, they're going to get paid X amount of money regardless of what's going on. Generally, they get some sort of health benefits and whatnot, and all those kinds of things. Well, now they're getting rid of a lot of those exclusives. They aren't you don't hear people talk about signing exclusives with companies anymore. They're dropping those. Now it's really a lot more, work for hire, a lot more freelance kind of thing. Even though somebody's maybe on a title for a very long time, they are work for hire. They are freelance. They have to be able to make enough money to pay for health insurance and whatnot. At least I believe they should be able to make enough money to pay for health insurance and have families and live reasonable lives. So I guess what I'm saying is I don't want to pay a ton for my comic books, and as they get more expensive, it gets harder to buy those comics, and certainly draw a line and pressure the companies to find ways for it to not cost more to do those books, because obviously they'll keep raising the prices for whatever we're willing to pay. So there needs to be a constant dialogue with the companies to make sure that it's not just being raised for the sake of raising the price of something. But I don't want to go back to us having the companies do things like they did to, the Kirbys and whatnot of those eras, where they got paid a pittance for what they did and whatnot. And I'm okay with paying that price, like with the creator-owned books and whatnot, because a large chunk of that at some point is going to that creator. I'm paying for what they're giving me for that enjoyment of that and that the work they put in, you know. I don't take it for granted. I like to dabble at writing. I like to dabble at drawing, but obviously I'm not doing any of that stuff. I'm not, you know, so, and if I was doing it, I'd want to get paid for it. And I want to be able to make a livable wage, like we all would. So yeah, I mean, it's just another part of it. It bothers me some that people are so pissed off and upset over the price of it, and somehow they think they're being screwed because of it, because of the prices. And I don't think we're being screwed. I think there's more to it than that. Now, I do have to say, digital comics, which I don't care for. I own a bunch of Batman comics that I can read on my computer. I don't enjoy reading them that way and whatnot. I bought them on a 99-cent sale. I think all digital comics should be somewhere like that, because you've taken out a massive amount of production out of the comic, and I think it's crazy anybody who buys a digital comic at the same as an actual physical cover price. You're not paying for anything except for some ones and some zeros in all reality. That price model needs to drop dramatically, in my opinion, because all that overhead's gone. The only overhead there is at that point is the amount it took to use whatever digitized code there is that lets you see panel by panel and that sort of thing. And then there can't be that much to it. There's software out there that just grabs that stuff and makes it happen. So it's not like that's really complicated. And I'm not sure that a third party doesn't do that. I'm not sure that the place you're getting your comics through, the cosmology or whatever that's called, when you're reading it, that app, when you're reading the book, I'm not sure that they aren't the ones that are actually breaking that comic book down that way. So it's not like even the company that's selling the comic is even doing the work as far as that goes. So you take all that overhead out, that should be a cheaper comic. Not something I'm going to buy. I'll continue to buy paper because I'm crazy, I guess. But anyway, that's my little rant, long rant, I have no idea, on prices and kind of where I think about that. Like I said, I bitch about the prices, but there's this whole other side to it. What are you getting for a product? What about the creator? What the person at the other end of that's making a wage to you? And I'm not just talking. There's somebody behind that besides the big machine, the big company, the Warner Brothers, the Disney Entertainment, and all that kind of stuff. Anyway, that's it. That's the week of comics for me. Take it easy, everybody, and I'll catch you this weekend. Bye.